Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there's a very weighty matter, and I was hoping that you'll be in the chair.
A weighty matter.
Yes, that is so, Mr. Speaker. I'm not saying that all the other matters that we've discussed are not weighty, but ordinarily, during statement time, I was going to ask for your leave to raise an issue of urgent public importance. Mr. Speaker, it occurred during your absence as Speaker. During your absence as Speaker, and on the 7th of July 2025, Mr. Speaker, on the 7th of July 2025, Mr. Speaker, we were saddened by the loss of one of our colleagues. And it broke in the news. We all read it in the news, but the minority leader came to the House and asked to make a statement pursuant to Order 92, I recall. And when the Speaker granted him audience to do so, he announced to this House the passing of one of our colleagues, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Akwatia, our colleague, the late Honorable Ernest Kumi. Mr. Speaker, he reported to this House the passing of our colleague, and hence it became official communication that our colleague had passed. So, Speaker, that decision of my colleague, the minority leader, to communicate to this House the passing of our colleague has raised some very serious constitutional matters. And I, as majority leader, have received a series of communications from people who are saying that if you look at Article 1125 of our Constitution, Clause 5 of Article 112, where it says, and with your permission, let me quote, "Whenever a vacancy occurs in Parliament, the clerk to Parliament shall notify the Electoral Commission in writing within 7 days after the vacancy occurred, and a by-election shall be held within 30 days after the vacancy occurred." Mr. Speaker, having officially informed this House as the leader of that caucus that our colleague passed, unfortunately, it has become official communication to this House and notification of the occurrence of a vacancy. So people are asking, has the clerk within 7 days communicated to the Electoral Commission the passing of our colleague and the occurrence of a vacancy? If that is the case, are they to expect a by-election 30 days following the passing of our colleague? Mr. Speaker, before the communication, there was some discussion of this matter. And our colleague, in his communication to the House, said it was without prejudice to Article 112 and the constitutional implications on the passing of a colleague. But it has become a matter of public concern. I have received a series of requests for information regarding what we are doing as a House, and I feel that I should raise it before you, and for you to take a decision, what should be the direction? Are we to treat the communication from the leader of the minority caucus to this House that our colleague belonging to his side is no more as a communication that the seat has become vacant, because vacancy occurs when the person passes, and there's no doubt about the person. This House ordinarily in the past never discussed the matter until there was an official communication by the Speaker. But on this occasion, we took the step of formally communicating to this House, and we all expressed our messages of condolences. It has become part of the official record that this House has become seized with the information that our colleague has passed. Therefore, there is a vacancy. Should this House be communicating within the 7 days? And should there be a by-election within the 30 days of the occurrence of the event? These are matters that I think, as Speaker, you need to give some direction. And I thought to raise it whilst you are in the seat so that you yourself will take a decision on the matter. So if I arrested your decision to let First Deputy Speaker take the seat, it is because of this very, very important constitutional matter that I think you should give us some indications how to proceed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the House in his submissions referred to Standing Orders 92 and also Article 1125. Standing Orders 92, with your kind permission, I'll read. And the heading is Ceremonial Speech. A ceremonial speech may be permitted, and the speech shall be confined to commemorating a special event, eulogizing a renowned personality or a deceased distinguished person, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the practice of this House, as we've all come to understand and appreciate, is that such ceremonial speeches are confined to situations like, a national day, a very important personality like a former president, former first lady, and such other important personalities. When it comes to a member of parliament passing, sadly, in this case, the Speaker is informed, a statement is admitted, a speech is made on the floor, members are given the opportunity to contribute to the passing of the said member, and it's admitted. Mr. Speaker, if you read Article 1125, it deals with a situation where a vacancy has occurred, and the Clerk of Parliament, and with your kind permission, I read again, that where a vacancy occurs in Parliament, the Clerk to Parliament shall notify the Electoral Commission. The Clerk of Parliament, fortunately, Mr. Speaker, is here. Has he been notified officially of the passing of the Member of Parliament for Akwatia? And has he written to the Electoral Commission with the kind permission of the Speaker? And I believe sincerely it has not happened. What I believe the minority leader did was just an information to the House on the passing of a colleague, which is not within the ambit of Standing Orders 92 and Article 1125. That is my submission to you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I don't want to permit further discussion of this matter. You have read the article. This House spent some time in looking at that article. Government itself did, and there was an amendment to that article. It's all in your constitution. Now, the original Article 1125 says whenever a vacancy occurs in Parliament, the Clerk to Parliament shall notify the Electoral Commission in writing within 7 days after the vacancy occurred. And a by-election shall be held within 30 days after the vacancy occurred. Now, when does a vacancy occur? We've been given a number of them, including death. When do you consider a person to have died? Who certifies that this person has died? Recently, somebody I knew collapsed in his room. And for 4 days, he was unconscious. Even though he was sent to the hospital, he was just lying there unconscious. The 4th day, he woke up and realized he was in the hospital. Now, some people would have taken that the day he collapsed and he was unconscious, motionless, he will be considered as dead and maybe buried before he could get up on the 4th day. So there must be an authority to say that the person has died. And that is why the medical profession developed the word clinical. Clinically dead. That one they are sure you are no more. Traditionally, there is an authority that have to come out to say that the person is dead. You know, our royals, the process you pass through. You know, in our families, the process you pass through. It's not any person outside anywhere that can tell you that this person is dead. It has happened to many. And they've always risen up. In fact, they don't even die. But some people go and say that the person is dead. I recall this one is true, but it's the light side. I know you will laugh. Somebody who was interested in another man's wife went and declared that the man was dead. And they organized the man's funeral. And that permitted him to marry the man's wife. After a few weeks, the man showed up. Now, he was advised in his own interest that once the funeral had been organized, that you are dead. If you don't disappear, they will kill you. This is a true story. This is a true story. I can mention names. So the person has to do what? Vamoose. So please, let's continue that way. Let's continue that way. We always want the proper authority to inform the House of the death of a colleague member of Parliament before we take action. We don't want to fall into this kind of traps. Now, this matter was discussed by this House, and that led to an amendment which is in the Constitution of Ghana, Constitution of the Republic of Ghana Amendment Act 1996. And that is Section 3 of that Act. And I want to read it. Article 112 of the Constitution is amended by the repeal of Clause 5 and the insertion of the following. And that's the 5. Whenever a vacancy occurs in Parliament, the Clerk of Parliament shall notify the Electoral Commission in writing within 7 days after becoming aware that the vacancy has occurred. And a by-election shall be held within 30 days after the vacancy occurred, except that where the vacancy occurred through the death of member, the by-election shall be held within 60 days after the occurrence of the vacancy. Now, clearly from the original Article 112, the person who is to inform the Electoral Commission is the clerk. The clerk doesn't just get up, listen to news, or any member and write a letter to the Electoral Commission that a member is no more. No. We are officially informed. With evidence that the person is no more. Based on that, the Speaker will then direct the clerk to issue the letter to the Electoral Commission. The clerk acts as an administrator. The clerk does not control members of Parliament. He is the head of the administration, parliamentary service. He is not the head of members of Parliament. He is the Speaker who presides over you. And so he can direct the clerk. This is what has happened to one of my members. The clerk cannot do that. So to the best of my knowledge, no such communication has been issued. The clerk has not been given any such authority to do so. Please, I think the reference to the standing orders. The standing orders, from the heading, it says ceremonial speech. Ceremonial. The death of a member cannot be a ceremonial speech at all. And so I'm sure the minority leader erred in coming to do what he did. That is not to be continued. We should discontinue it because the likelihood of any member coming in and making a statement of somebody he doesn't like perishing is great. And so far as the EC is concerned, unless they have evidence of a letter from the clerk communicating to them, because when they get the letter from the clerk, they will be acting constitutionally if they decide to process for any by-election. So that is the position. I think that it was not right and it should not be repeated. Yes, Majority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the guidance you have given. But there's a twist to the facts. It's more complicated than that. After the statement that was made in this House, and after our various responses on this site, the following morning, the leadership and some members of parliament, together with the clerk, then conveyed ourselves to the family. And this was carried on television and reported on radio. It was live, reported on City FM, live reported. And at the family house, at the house, the residence of the deceased, we told them that we had heard. And so we're coming to confirm, led by our clerk. They received us and they said they were confirming to us that indeed he had passed. Mr. Speaker, the clerk was there. And it was on television. It was carried live on radio. And Ghanaians saw it, listened to it, that the minority, the majority, and their leadership, led by the clerk of parliament, had gone to the family to inquire whether indeed it is true that he had passed. And the family said, yes, indeed, he had passed. Then we made all the commitments to help the family with the funerals and every other thing that mattered thereafter. So Ghanaians saw everything. So I'm still saying that if you look at the constitutional provision says, whenever a vacancy occurs in Parliament, the Clerk of Parliament shall notify the Electoral Commission in writing within 7 days after becoming aware. The clerk, after becoming aware. Mr. Speaker, if Ghanaians ask the clerk, are you aware or not? Can he say that he's not aware? Because after being informed by the leader of the caucus through a statement in this house, the clerk himself followed up to the house, the residence, met the family members of the deceased, asked them, and they confirmed to him that the deceased has passed. And this was on national television. It was on radio. Mr. Speaker, can the clerk say that he is not yet aware? That is the dilemma that I am confronted with. These are the full facts. And people are calling me and asking me, I argue you're sitting there, you say you know Constitution. This is happening under your nose. Have you brought it to the attention of the Speaker? So at business committee meeting, I drew the attention of the minority side. Said, this is what has happened. I will raise it. And then Speaker will take a decision on the matter. But these are the facts. Is the clerk aware? Did he go to the residence to go and ascertain? Did they confirm to him? And now that he's become aware constructively, what is he doing?
Yes. Well, let me listen to the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When we heard of this issue, I think the whole Parliament was devastated. And the next day, we met at conclave. At conclave, the decision was that we're not going to do any business. We'll just come and adjourn. However, upon further deliberation, the leadership decided that we can also just keep quiet. So at least when we come, we should raise the matter. And it's not going to be open for comment. It's just for the two leaders. So, Mr. Speaker, when I put out the information, I emphasized in my statement with a caveat that this does not amount to an official communication, and that it is not as part of the processes to trigger any constitutional imperative. It was clear, and Hansard bears me out. The next day, the clerk to Parliament and leadership drove to the family house where we met the wife and some family members. What we told them was that the head of this assembly, being you were not in the jurisdiction. And we had heard this. We want to come and find out from them and report back to you. Mr. Speaker, on record, the Ochemi for the family, the linguist who spoke on behalf of the family, told us that indeed there was a situation like that. However, the gentleman being a royal, they are only in Accra to work, but they have to go back to the family and officially inform the family. And after that, they would come and inform Parliament, because being a royal, there is a need for a family member to lead, to officially inform you. Mr. Speaker, our spokesperson, leadership, and the clerk nominated Honorable Anodompre to speak on our behalf. So they asked us to nominate one from amongst us to be the liaison, to give notice of when they are coming. So we nominated Honorable Collins Adumaku Mensah to be the one to liaise with them. Mr. Speaker, in fact, Honorable Chief Whip Anodompre asked the leader of the House whether there was anything to add. He said, whatever he said on our behalf is full and final. Mr. Speaker, I don't understand the sudden twist where some constructive meaning is being given to this matter and that the clerk is being pushed into a tight corner. You've spoken to us about our tradition. You've spoken to us about the processes that leads to this communication. And even the amendment to Article 1125, which you read, allowed an extension. 1125, as amended in 1996, is here. Mr. Speaker read it aloud and in extenso. So it is not true, and it is not the case, that the clerk to Parliament went there on his own. Based on what leadership discussed with him, is what led all of us to go. And the family was clear that the gentleman is a royal, and per tradition, they can't just get up. And there's no royal family member in Accra. They are all in the village. So, Mr. Speaker, I would want to beg of the respected leader of the House. If he says people are calling him, saying that, what is he doing? He is a constitutionalist and all, I will plead with him. This is a very sad situation. We're all struck by this. It is somebody's life. We don't know tomorrow. Let us not create the impression that somebody is in a rush for the purpose of political convenience. Mr. Speaker has given us a direction. Mr. Speaker has guided us. Let us contact the family, and I'm sure that the family would equally contact us. This is not the first time a situation like this has occurred. It is not the first. And let us appreciate the sensitivity around this and not create the impression that, we are so insensitive and we want to hurriedly do something to fill the vacancy. So, Mr. Speaker, that is it. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, I did not come here to make a ceremonial speech. Mr. Speaker, this is a house of record. Because you had commented that if I did so, then I was wrong. No, Mr. Speaker, I was very guided. I'm still a student of parliamentary jurisprudence. I'm careful. I know I can make mistakes, but I was careful which of the rules to come under, and we all discussed. So I didn't come saying that ceremonial speeches. No, I got up, Mr. Speaker, to crave the indulgence of the chair to inform and for us to discuss the matter. So, Mr. Speaker, that is all I would want to.
Yes, honorable members, please. The Speaker is a presiding officer. The Speaker is not a judge. If I have to operate as a judge, there are so many questions that will have to be answered before you can take a well-considered decision in this matter. But there are three essential things you have to look at when you read that clause of the article, because it's in a context. One, vacancy occurring. Two, when. Three, time limits given to the clerk. These are very essential. It's not just about a member dying, but when did the member die? Because the time starts running from that day, not when the clerk informs in writing the electoral commission. No. So those three things are very essential in processing this matter. And so, even for you going, there's nothing wrong with it because you have heard. And even traditionally, that's what we do. So there's nothing wrong with you going there to find out whether what you have heard is really true. But that is not sufficient basis for you saying that a vacancy has occurred. There must be further evidence, because those people you met might turn out not to be the family or head of family or linguist under cross-examination. And so that is sufficient for you to show concern that a colleague suddenly has fallen. It's a shock. And so you move to try and find out. There's nothing wrong with that one. But you will want some authority, some evidence. And you don't forget the Constitution is talking about in writing. In writing. The writing will state the person is no more and it occurred on this date. Then the Electoral Commission can start counting from that date. And in the case of death, 60 days, there must be election. The clerk is given to act within 7 days. Within 7 days. And so what you've done is right by following up, because it's not only news. A leader of the House, in the person of the minority leader, has also given notice. So the clerk cannot pretend not to have heard. So you have to follow up. But to act, the clerk will need more than just that. Because in writing to the Electoral Commission, the clerk will have to state categorically that the death occurred on this date, and if possible, the time. And then the Electoral Commission will start calculating from that date. So if we have not yet received in writing that letter, the clerk, by not communicating, has not done anything wrong. Because there is no sufficient basis for the clerk to write and say, oh, this statement was made on this date on the floor. Then we followed up to the family. It was confirmed. And you rely on that. Later on, some other family members can come out. And it's happened in this country a number of times where people have come out to contest the earlier information. So we will still need some evidence to rely on for the clerk to write. But as I told you, the clerk just don't proceed to act. And the position of the speaker is always here in the House. The person might be outside the jurisdiction, but for the speaker is a creation of the Constitution and is always here. That is why you have at least 2 deputies. Even if I'm not here and they get in touch with me, I give the necessary authority, act on my behalf. That is on the administration. But presiding, they don't need that authority. Once I've left, they can preside. But administration, they will need the authority because of the law, not only the Constitution. The Constitutive Act of Parliament itself has stated it clearly when it comes to administration. So this is the guidance I can give the House. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, when we arrived at the family house, at the residence of the deceased, and we asked, they provided the clerk with details of the incident, the hospital where the incident occurred, and the time when the incident occurred. So, Mr. Speaker, we must pay attention. We must pay attention to the language of our Constitution and what it says. I am saddened by an attempt by my colleague, the Minority Leader, to create an impression that I am being insensitive, that there's a sudden haste to rush and have a by-election and etc. Mr. Speaker, I really have no interest beyond my fidelity to the Constitution and the language of the Constitution. When the Constitution says, when the clerk becomes aware, and I have gone with the clerk to the family house, and the family has informed both myself and the clerk, and informed the clerk of the hospital, informed him of the time, and informed him that the doctors there confirmed, and I was sitting there with him. Mr. Speaker, so Mr. Speaker, if after all these facts occurring on national television, we can go for the tapes and the records where they inform myself, the clerk, the Minority Leader, and about 35 other members of Parliament. They told us the hospital, the time, and then the confirmation by the doctors. Mr. Speaker, it is up to the clerk to follow up to the hospital and get the certification, because he's been told, so that he can do what constitutionally he is obliged to do. For the records, for the records, no one is being insensitive here. For the records, no one is in a haste. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, I have seen posters put out by the NPP announcing the wife of the deceased as their parliamentary candidate in the by-election. Who is being insensitive here? I have seen posters announcing the wife of the deceased as their preferred parliamentary candidate in the constituency when we have not yet even performed the funeral of the deceased. So who is being insensitive? Who is being insensitive? Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is clear. The Constitution is clear in terms of the language, and that is why I am raising it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, honorable members, enough. Honorable members, enough is enough. We are getting into some other very troubling areas. So please, I told you what I did. Honorable member, honorable members, please, you are just talking about yourselves. You should at least be very, 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 very sensitive to yourselves. You are talking about yourselves. You are talking about yourselves. Please. Honorable members, let's leave it at this stage, and then leadership can discuss this using the usual channels of communication. The proper thing will be done, and definitely it's a democratic state. We'll go through what the law says we should do. I want to please plead with members that as I leave the chair, extend the same cooperation to the deputy speakers that will preside. Whatever I do when I leave the chair, I always have an eye on what is happening on the floor of Parliament. So I don't want the current orderly situation to deteriorate into anything. Let's do the business of the day. We are getting to the end of this meeting. And what I gathered since I arrived last night is that we have a lot more business to do. So let's end well. And definitely, we are all shocked by the demise of our colleague, but we're just trying to do the proper thing. And it could be any of us. I recall one member only spent, I think, 3 months in Parliament here. I think that Honorable Minister for Interior could correct me whether it's more than 3 months. I can't see him paying attention. I don't know whether it was 3 months.
The Speaker, mine was shorter. Well, it did 39 days.
39 days. 39 days, and that was a doctor. But he only spent 39 days here and died suddenly. So we've always had these shocks. This is not the first time. And what I'm just experiencing, I experienced it at that time too. These same exchanges took place. And that is what gave the public the impression that you don't matter. You don't even respect yourselves. So immediately it happens, nobody cares about the dead. They are looking at who is going to replace the dead. And I recall at Formina, I made a statement. Because when I went to that funeral, they were wearing the T-shirts of the candidate. And I told them that in the unlikely event that I am no more as a member of parliament, anybody who comes to my funeral with a T-shirt of another person will not go back. I remember that very well. God being on my side, I'm still alive. So please, take this serious and let's do the proper thing. We will sit together and we'll do what is right. So the EC will properly be informed. I thank you so much. First Deputy Speaker to take the chair. Now we can move on to... No, it's question time. So, honorable members, it's question time. We'll continue with the question time. And then... Honorable members, First Deputy Speaker to take the chair. Honorable members, First Deputy Speaker to take the chair.
I regret to say that our side feel that the issues that have been brought on this floor appears to be very insensitive to us, and therefore we are withdrawing from today's proceedings. No problem.
Yes, Honorable Kwame Agboja.
Mr. Speaker, what the respected minority leader did is in total disrespect to the ruling or the comments made by Mr. Speaker before leaving the chair for you. Mr. Speaker admonished all of us to drop the issues and continue with today's business. Immediately Mr. Speaker left, our colleagues on the other side decided to do the opposite of what Mr. Speaker did. That's very regrettable. That is very disrespectful to Mr. Speaker, and that must be put on record.
Very well.
Honorable members, First Deputy Speaker to take the chair.